Aloha. Welcome to episode 62 of the Aloha Hour. Mahalo for your patience. I know it's been a hot minute. We've been adjusting and doing some great things in life. And, we do this because we love it and we love you. So before we go forward, please make sure you like, share, subscribe, share the heck out of our videos if you can, and help us grow. Because when we grow, you grow. And we're ready for action today. Johnny.
All right, and today we have a very special guest. He served in the IDF's Special Forces before working as an undercover agent for the Israeli intelligence agency. After participating in various missions overseas, he decided to pivot into the private sector where he worked as a bodyguard for a high-profile Russian billionaire. Now, after being mentored by the head of psychology of the Israeli Mossad, he's devoting his time implementing his extensive knowledge and experience to coach CEOs, hedge fund managers, entrepreneurs, athletes, and even poker champions to conquer their minds, perform their best. And he's a jujitsu black belt, a father, a world traveler, and a successful entrepreneur himself. He is Itamar Marani. What's up, Itamar?
Aloha. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. Once we kind of heard your story, we said, fuck, we got to get this guy on the show. We got to talk some shit over here.
Well, I didn't know much of I know a little bit of the story, just a quick preface that Johnny sent over. And then I don't know why I didn't expect you to be such a massive human. Like I came and said, oh, some big brother.
Well, what you thought? I'm going to bring you one midget or what?
Well, I mean, I just
Special agent midget.
I don't know. I just like, oh, Johnny's friend, maybe same size, I don't know.
Well, you same shot.
I just didn't expect.
You're just a big
massive
Filipino, man. I don't know any Filipino your size, bro.
Yes.
I'm kind of standard. But he's a big guy for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. He had better training, I guess. While I was smoking weed, he was running around and training.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, I kind of shared with our audience a little bit about you, and but how did you get to be actually working in your field? I mean, let's take it back. I'm talking about mandatory services in Israel, right? So you had to serve in the IDF. IDF, by the way, it's the Israeli Defense Forces. So you had to serve in the IDF. And that's where you served in a special force, and then you decided to take it after your mandatory 3 years to
to the Israeli Security Agency. So I left the unit in kind of a mixed bag. So I was supposed to actually be sent to officer school, and it was literally like the 11th hour before it was supposed to happen. All of a sudden they made some changes in the unit, and I was like, I don't really vibe with this. I don't want to go to officer school, and I don't want to commit to another 2.5 or 3 years for this, but I still kind of want to do more. Like my whole family, everyone was special forces officers. My father was a major. My mother even was a captain. My uncles, my cousins, everyone. So I still felt like I wanted to do more, and I wanted to do something that was a bit different, though. I didn't want to stay in the unit. So I looked up the Israeli Security Agency, and they had a couple roles that were open, and I applied for the GR course, which is basically called the Government Request Course. It's a program that's only open to ex-special forces, and it's basically our kind of hybrid of the CIA and the FBI. So to clarify, I was not in the Mossad.
Yeah.
I didn't do the hits, but I did work undercover abroad in various capacities.
Oh.
So I did that a bit. I was also an air marshal. So I was a guy that was flying on the planes undercover to make sure that a 9/11 kind of situation doesn't happen again. There's someone there to intervene. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to know, did you get extra peanuts on the flight or not?
Yes.
You did.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
I just wanted to make sure, because every time I ask for extra peanuts, I get that look. You know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah. So did that for a while. Had a couple stations when I was working undercover. I worked undercover in Mumbai, in Bangkok, Thailand, which also people think Bangkok is this beautiful, peaceful place. But what people don't recognize is that, at least at the time in 2010, it was a hub of intelligence. So Thailand was basically the only country at the time that allowed all the Arab countries to come in visa-free. So they would all come in there and they would swap intelligence. So Bangkok, even though people think it's this peaceful place, with foot massages and mango smoothies, there was a lot of shady shit going on. So I spent time in Bangkok, and I also spent about 3 weeks in Moscow before the FSB, which was like the new version of the KGB. basically said, "We think you're here to be a spy. You're not allowed to be here. We're not giving you the license to be here." Like, I was supposed to come there. I was supposed to be there for 6 months, and they just said, "Nope, we're not letting you in. We're not
So you
giving you the
basically
license."
got kicked out of Russia.
Not kicked out. I was just told, like, you can't be here in the capacity that you say you are, so to speak.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, they were like, "We believe you're a spy. We don't believe who you are. What you say you are. You're actually going to be a spy here, so we don't want you here. We're not granting you the permission or the licenses to be here."
Wow.
Yeah, the Russians are very aggressive about it. Like, the first day that I arrived there, so I had a diplomatic passport. And you arrive on, if you go to the airport, you always have these lines that says crew and diplomats, right? So I went into there. I showed the guy my passport. He just looks at me, he goes, takes my passport, walks away. Comes back with probably his officer or whatever it may be. And he's like, "Why are you here?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm here to da-da-da-da." He's like, "Why are you here?" I was like, "Here, da-da-da." They took my prints, took me to a back room, took the prints, all that kind of jazz. Is a very clear show of force. And then when I got out, let's call him my boss, the guy who was receiving me there, I told him what happened. He's like, "Ah, shit, yeah, they do that here." It's kind of the vibe. Like, the best way I could explain Russian intelligence is that that same guy, the guy who was my boss, when he was telling me the story, he's like, "Okay, so it's 2009 at the time." And he was saying that he was just being shown an apartment in the city. He was looking for a new place to live. And the lady who was showing the real estate agent, they took him to a place literally right in front of the American consulate, the American embassy there. And it was on the 5th floor. And he showed him the apartment. She had a really beautiful, really modern apartment. And he says, "By the way, something really exciting. We just got internet in here." And he's like, 2009, when did you guys get internet in here? And she was like, "Oh, you don't know?" And he was like, "What?" He's like, "Floors 6 to 20 are FSB offices. So the American embassy is here, and their intelligence is right above them." It's like, it's their whole vibe. It's like no shame in their game. They just do it. So that was Russia.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you have fear at any given moment? Or
Not
you
really, because I wasn't doing anything that I shouldn't be doing there. In Russia, like, nothing happened. Like, I told you the story about Mumbai. We can get into it later a bit. That was a sketchy situation. But yeah, that was kind of my time in the agency.
Wow, that's crazy. I always think about those situations, like from all the movies, you think it only happens in a movie, but then you hear that story and you're like, shit, the movie was written about real life and not the other way around. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, the shit, it really happens.
Yeah, Russia, it really happened, man.
But
Like,
speaking of movies, like, so when you do these undercover things, do you like put on a whole different character for each place?
yeah, so it depends. So there's a difference between a cover story and a cover identity. A cover story is, for example, I'm still Itamar. I'm my age. I come from where I come from. But the reason I'm here is not the actual reason. So, for example, when I'm 24 and in Thailand, it's very easy for me to get by with a cover story of saying, "Oh, I'm just backpacking here. I'm having fun. And I can dress like a backpacker and I look the part." If I'm going to Zurich when I'm 24, I probably need to have a different cover identity, because I need to be able to justify logically why I'm there, why this young kid is there. So it's probably not the kid who grew up like this and that, but I'm the son of so-and-so who has this kind of business doing so-and-so, and that's why I'm coming to Zurich over now.
Oh,
So
that
you have
is
to understand
crazy.
that. And the challenge is, though, like, for me personally, at least, I prefer to not have a cover identity when I didn't need to, because you're just stacking up lies, so to speak.
Yeah.
So when you're stacking lies, it's easier to uncover them if you go into a conversation. The less you have to lie, the easier it is basically to not get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like as an entertainer, because it's all cover story. It's just extended versions of yourself from a lot of entertainers, right? So it's just, I find the parallel with that. So I'm just curious on how much you got to go in there with the whole mind frame of performance,
Yeah, he usually identifies as a woman. You can tell him the truth. You can tell him. Identify as a furry.
Wow.
I'm a cat. just say it. It's okay.
Are we rolling today? Is this what's going on? I'm not going to make that kind of jokes against this man.
I'm influenced. I cannot keep it too straight. I cannot keep it too serious, man. Here and there, and I have to, break the ice, bro.
Oh.
I got to break the ice.
Absolutely.
But so you went back to Israel after they not kicked you, but asked you kindly to leave from Russia? Or?
No, so that was a pretty quick. So Russia was actually supposed to be my first base, so to speak. That was also like my first initiation into this world. After that, I went to Mumbai I spent 5 months there. I was supposed to be 6, but I spent up 5. I'm gonna get into that a bit later. And then I went to Bangkok for another, I believe it was 7 months or so. And that was kind of my time in the agency after that. And I did the whole air marshal thing as well.
Wow.
Do you get to enjoy yourself in between during
Yeah.
these things? You know, like when you're in mission or whatever it is you gotta accomplish. Like, you know, take a time to go have a drink somewhere.
Yeah. So basically, I think they were very wise that they understood that it's unrealistic to ask a 23, 24-year-old, like hyper alpha, like guy, you know, at the moment, like where you're at the peak of your testosterone, to just stay holed up in a wall and like in your room and not do anything. They understood like guys will be guys and it is what it is. So you were allowed to have fun, but you had to follow certain protocols to keep yourself safe. So to be like very just transparent about it, for example, you're not allowed to bring a girl home and let her stay. You're not allowed to do those kind of things. You can't be a gentleman as far as that, because you never know if it could be a honey trap or whatever it may
Yeah.
be. You're never allowed to go into someone else's car. You're never allowed to tell somebody where you live. You're never allowed to put yourself into situations where you all of a sudden might be vulnerable. So they understand you're going to have fun. You're not allowed to also get obviously blasted drunk. You can have a drink. You're not allowed to get drunk. You're not allowed to ever be impaired, where you can be just honestly like just kidnapped. And so, yeah, you can have some fun, but you got to stay within certain confines.
Right. It's probably tough to be in Thailand and not to go all out over there. I mean, to keep it serious and just have one drink.
Yeah, just go to a massage parlor here and there, right?
Yeah, but like, but you know, get like 3-4 like hot looking lady boys, you know, calling you over here. Let's go, ba. You know, what you gonna say? No.
Hey there, handsome.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I think all the guys, like everybody had fun, but there are obviously, there's going to be some variance. Some guys took it too far. Some guys did stupid shit. Yeah, and some guys obviously caught a lot of flack for that. But yeah, most of the guys, honestly, they kept it in check.
Nice.
Yeah. They're like, at the end of the day, you're a more serious 23 or 24-year-old after you come out of those kind of trainings, those kind of situations. You just the gravity of what's going on. And also, man, there's just legitimate danger. Like, danger wakes you up.
Yeah.
Danger really makes things serious. I remember in boot camp, we were kind of messing around. We weren't pulling our weight as we should, whatever it may be. And our officer pulled us in and he was like, all right, guys, here's the reality. If you fuck up and you don't get your gear in check, you don't have to explain to me why that happened. You have to explain to your friend's mom why her son is dead because of you. And that was like, all right, we're adults now.
Yeah.
That's it. Childhood over, we're adults. And it was, I think it's that kind of vibe there. Like, you understood that we want to have fun. And like, obviously you get a ton of like hyper alpha dudes in a room together in this kind of environment. There's going to be a lot of testosterone, a lot of nonsense, but people understood kind of what was going on, the gravity of everything.
Wow. Amazing.
And while you're there, do you do any training? Or you just go gym, just running and stuff like that? Or are you doing actual training?
When you're in the agency?
While you were
In the
abroad, when you overseas in
there's,
Thailand?
yeah, so there's certain protocols. So you have to keep up the standards of training, let's call it.
What is this sound?
Freezer?
It's from the outside, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So there's certain standards of training you have to keep up. Some of them are physical, like you have to, from what I remember, you have to run 3K in under 12 minutes. You have to be able to run 400 meters. So apologies, like, can you translate that for me in feet?
I have no idea.
No.
It's basically it's one lap around like the Olympic ring. When you see the 400 meters run, that's one lap. So you have to do that, but it's like 200 meters there and back, and you have to do that in under 68 seconds. From what I remember, you have to do a minimum of something like 15 pull-ups and also a certain amount of dips. I don't remember exactly what it was. And then there's also shooting standards where you have to be able to hit targets, like how well can you actually hit a target technically in a certain amount of time, and also certain parameters of how well you can clear death houses, certain situations, whatever it may be, where you have a lot of kind of moving targets, a new situation. You have to make sure that you can think correctly, not just shoot, but actually understand what shot you need to take, what volume, what's first, what's second, what's kind of a descending hierarchy of threats and how you assess that. And the way they do that is that even if you're somewhere for 6 months, once every 3 months, you get flown back to Israel to go do the training. And that's either 1 or 2 day, depending kind of on your training. And once a year, you have to do a full-on 3-day training where you get flown back and do a full-on 3-day training. And you have to make sure that you hit those standards every time.
And you have your personal gun with you?
I can't talk about any of that. That's the stuff I can't talk about. Like everyone here is an adult. Everyone understands what's going on. Those are the things that I will never say on film that I can't talk about.
No, but it's just like crazy, like to be packing, in Thailand,
Well, I mean, all the girls do it.
Yeah,
Have
all the
you
lady boys are
checked?
packing.
Have you checked?
True. You got a point.
Yeah.
Point. No, because I always think about, wait, how they travel with the gun, and then you're probably not. You leave it, and then you got to pick it up, and like, do the countries know, bro? This guy's traveling one gun. Give it to him at the fucking baggage claim.
No, I think it's magic, bro.
It's
magic.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
We see magic happen all the time.
Yeah.
We just saw magic happen at some rally over here not too long ago in with Trump. You know what I mean? Like,
Magically appeared on the roof.
yeah, young boy magically got up there past all the greatest security America has to offer.
True.
Magic, bro.
Magic. Well, so you got stationed before Thailand. You said you were in Mumbai.
Yeah,
Mumbai. That's in India, yeah.
correct. Bombay. Some people call it Bombay. Some people call it Mumbai. It goes with both names. Yeah.
But it's the capital, no?
I think Delhi is the capital,
yeah,
but
Delhi.
Mumbai is the most like the biggest city. It's kind of like New York versus Washington D.C. That
Yeah.
kind of vibe.
Yeah. And you were stationed over there.
Yep.
How is it to live there,
Terrible,
bro?
man. It was terrible. It was, man. I would have preferred to go back to boot camp over there. Like my apartment, me and my flatmate was in one of the wealthiest areas there. So in the local Gold's Gym, I would go to work out. I'd see all the guys like the Bollywood stars that are like, they're multi millionaires, and people would have Lamborghinis in the parking lots of their houses, but they could never take them out because the streets were so shitty. There was open sewage everywhere.
Oh
The
my
roads
God.
were all messed up. It's super, super weird because you have this immense like wealth there. The people that are very, very wealthy, but it was just a complete, like, again, part of my language, but a shithole to live in. It's open sewage everywhere. Like I would get food poisoning once a week, basically.
Oh, guarantee.
And like Mumbai food poisoning, not not a little minor food poisoning, but like
Yeah,
proper one.
it's in between COVID-19
And death.
and measles.
And death, yeah, and the Black Plague, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, I did not like Mumbai, man. On the way to work every day, you would see bodies on the highway. Like just call it the respect for human life there wasn't a real thing. It was really weird. It's like you just see people turned over in the rickshaws or whatever, just blood pouring down, and people just keep going. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, it's just Monday morning traffic. That was kind of the vibe there.
oh my God! I didn't expect that. I mean, I saw that there's that big thing about India where the men are very disrespectful to women. They're very aggressive. I didn't know it was like the quality of life there was like.
But once I heard that in the Gangas, they also wash their clothes and they throw the dead and they take a shit and they wash their food. I'm like, not for me.
Yeah.
I'm tapping out. Not for me.
Oh,
The Gangas is in Delhi, no?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's like the famous, I guess, river or whatever.
Yeah.
So they wash their stuff they wash the stuff there, but they also throw the dead people and they take a shit and yeah.
So you're forced to be there for 6 months.
Yeah, I was very naive. I thought it was kind of going to be like Thailand. That was my lack of understanding. So when they asked me if I wanted to do it, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like a cool experience. I'll go see the Far East, experience some new things. And it's like, yeah, man, that was not a pleasant place to be. Like I remember when the guy that I was swapping out, when he left, he just threw away all his gym clothes. And I was like, why are you not taking that back with you? And he was like, you'll see. And 3 weeks later, because you eat some of the local food, whatever. Maybe 3 weeks later, I'm running on the treadmill at the gym. I'm like, God damn, weird smells like that. And then I'm like, oh no, that's me.
Oh yeah, because of the curries.
all the
and
spices
yeah.
I smelled, and yeah, like that was just a scent you couldn't get off your gym clothes. When I
Yeah.
left there as well, I just left my gym clothes there. Just got a new pair when I got back home.
Bro, that's disgusting, man. But other than that, it's it's dirty. You definitely have the shits every other day. But as far as the mission goes, you go to work, like you wake up in the morning, you go to work.
Yeah, so for context, this was just after the big Mumbai attacks in 2008. So basically, they got really messed up there. So Al Qaeda had this massive, massive attack all over the city.
That wasn't on the American embassy?
I don't know them, probably. They tried to attack everything, and they also did a lot of very savvy things. They basically, all the terrorists took cabs to wherever they were going, and they left a bomb in the cab. So all of a sudden there were explosions all over the city. Nobody knew what was going on. And it was a big mess. So post that, and I think I was there in 2010. Like it was still, you could feel the presence of Al Qaeda there. It was a very high level of danger, and their level of control, like the local forces, they weren't at a high level of training. You could feel that it was legitimate danger in there. And that's why we were there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So but were you specifically guarding something?
I was protecting national interest of Israel. It's called that.
Holy cow.
National interest of
Yeah,
Israel.
like that's the simplest way I can say it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
And then so when are they easily identified, like Al Qaeda guys? Like you would see them and be like, oh, okay, do they roll around in like Jeeps with big guns?
No. So it's not like that, like how you're seeing the ISIS videos. So I guess I can kind of share kind of my story, what I was alluding to earlier, because we said we talk about it at some point. So like I said, when you're there, you're expected to be able to have a life, but you have to keep yourself safe. So the gold gym that I would go at, it was a couple blocks away from my house. And after a while there, I would go to there, and there was one area with like all the punching bags, and I would work on the heavy bags. And I saw this other guy that was just looked like a guy from Mumbai, a little bit bigger. He was also working the heavy bags. And after a while, we kind of bumped into each other and we'd spar together. And it was just nice to have someone to actually like work out a little bit, because I was bored out of my mind there. And my flatmate, who was also an agent, didn't do any of the martial arts stuff like me. And so we meet up and we change phone numbers. And every once in a while, I'd message him, hey, what do you want to meet up today at 4? And we meet up, and that was it. And sometimes you'd be like, hey, man, why don't you come to my Muay Thai club? One, like, I give you a ride back home. You want to do this? And I'll be like, no. I always kept my distance just for safety. Kid didn't think anything of it, but I was like, I know my protocols. I know what needs to happen. So did this for like a month or so, and he always asked me if I want to ride back. I'm like, no, I'm sorted, so on and so on. And then comes the semifinals of the 2010 FIFA World Cup that was in South Africa. And during halftime, he calls me. And he's like, hey, Itamar, is there any chance me and my friend can come watch the game at your place? Our TV just went off. It's not working. We really want to see the second half. And we were not close at all. Like, this was not a call that you would expect someone who like you're that not close with to like ask to come to your house. But it's Mumbai. Culture is different. So I was like, I didn't think much of it. And I said, no, man, like right next to the Golds, there's a sports bar, the Elbow Room. Go there, watch it. Maybe I'll call you next week. We'll spar. That's it. And I thought that was it. Couple minutes later, he calls me again. He's like, hey, man, they're not showing the game at the bar. Is there any chance we come watch it at your place? We're really desperate to see the second half. It's the semifinals, blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was weird. Like, they should show the semifinals of the World Cup at the sports bar. But again, I was like, no, man, just you do you. Maybe I'll talk to you next week. Again, the culture here is very different. That was that. He was disappointed. He's like, oh, okay. Calls me another minute or two afterwards. He's like, you know, please, we're really desperate to see the second half. It's just about to start. Can we please watch it at your place? Like, we're right on your street anyway, right next to your house. We're thinking, like, how do you know where I live? And there was kind of a silence on his end on the phone as well, because he recognized that he slipped. Ugh. And my flatmate, who was also an agent, he was sitting on the couch, and I was kind of in the kitchen area. I remember him looking over at me like, what the fuck's going on? And then, after about a couple seconds, he's like, oh, you told me one time. And that's where obviously like everything came about, because there was absolutely zero chance I would ever tell somebody where I live. I wouldn't let him follow me. Like, whenever I'd go back from the gym to the house, I'd always break routine to make sure that nobody could follow me, that there was no accident, that somebody could see me. And you follow all these protocols. And when he said that, it was very clear that he was not who he said he was. So I kind of looked into the phone and said, okay, you know who I am. Now I know you are as well. Next choice is yours. And basically, me and my flatmate prepared ourselves in case shit went down. I called my superior officer, and within a couple days, I was out of the country. And our local, like, basically, it stopped there. They recognized that they didn't have the element of surprise on their hand anymore. So it was not worth it to pursue and try to come upstairs and actually engage in a gunfight. And basically, from there, after I was flying out of the country, our local Mossad attaché confirmed with the IBI, which is the Indian FBI, that that was indeed Al Qaeda cell. They knew about your predecessor, because he was another big white guy that looked like me, and they didn't swap our apartments, which probably they should have, looking back. And they had intelligence on him because he didn't keep a great cover. And so when they saw one big white guy replace another big white guy, they were like, oh, he's that.
Yeah.
And basically, yeah, they were trying to lure me out and kidnap me.
Oh!
That then confirmed that was on a Qaeda cell. That's what that was.
Bruh. That's fucking major, bruh.
Yeah.
That's a
Oh,
every time I'm just thinking about it, I'm getting the chills, man. This is
Yes.
such a
I'll tell you the wild part, dude. The really wild part, and this is me being a moron at 24. When that happened, I remember like after things settled for a minute and we kind of got out of the apartment and saw what was going on. My first thought was, they're gonna have to get me out of the country. This is great. I can't be here anymore. I disliked being there so much. Yeah, I was like, okay, now it's safe. Like, oh wow, this is a great thing. I have to get flown out of the country now that this has happened. And I remember just like, and this was, I think, a mistake of mine back in the day. Now that I understand psychology so much and all that I just said, okay, this is what happened there. Let's move on with life. And I didn't understand the ramifications that would have on my psychology, my ability to view situations in a certain light moving forward. And that's the one thing I would have like changed about that then. To like not just say, because I just literally put it aside. I was like, cool. Now I get to go on to Bangkok. Like I'll be even more protective of myself there, but I get to have some like go train Muay Thai, have some great food, have a good time, all that jazz. So like on to the next one.
That's
That-
crazy.
that's something, we as men are really good at is compartmentalizing, huh? Take that, put it away. But bro, that's insane. Like that's pretty gangster that you checked them like on the like that is like the most gangster like chess move. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you slip. All right, so what then? So
Well-
what? We gonna bang or what, dog? Like, so what? Like, you already know. You know. I know. Let's go. That's so
Let's go, you
freaking
fucker.
crazy. Yeah. like-
Think about it this way. There's also, when you
Oh.
really break it down, like on a logical level, whenever you want to call a battle, a danger, there's different levels of control you can exert over it. So there's the descending hierarchy. At the very top, there's distance management. Like if I can distance myself from the danger, I say, you want to fight me, you want to stab me with a knife,
Yeah.
and you're in Hawaii, I'm in LA, no danger whatsoever.
Yeah.
Now, beneath distance, if I can at least create some kind of block, like you're trying to stab me, but I'm inside a building, no danger. It's locked. You can't come in. Cool. Beneath that, there's deterrence. So if you stab me, but I'm like, bro, look what I got on my hip. You sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
It might deter you and you won't want to engage with me. But I'm already we're engaging a little bit. You know what I mean? And at the very bottom, there's countermeasures. Like you come at me with the knife, I pull it and do my thing. So it was just really assessing, okay, he had already blown my cover. The distance wasn't there. He was right beneath us. He could probably get up the building and go through the door. That's not a problem. Like the buildings in Mumbai, they're not that secure. So deterrent was my next option, like before actually engaging countermeasures.
Bro, that's luck though that you recognize that situation.
Well, I
don't think
that's
it's-
discipline. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because as you're explaining the story, like these are things that you were trained to keep tight on, and because you were so disciplined, you knew you didn't slip at all. For someone who's not trained in that, I might have honestly, maybe I did tell him I lived here. Shit, I don't remember, but I'm not thinking of that. Like you being well trained, thinking about that, like.
Bruh, me with embracing Aloha, I would be like, yeah, fuck yeah, come over, bro. Yeah, fuck yeah. Oh, halftime. Oh, right. I make popcorn, bro. Whoa, you like nachos. Straight up make nachos, everything, open up the beer, ding dong. Hey, my brother, what's up? Fuck, no doubt, man. No doubt. I wouldn't think twice. I would just, fuck yeah, just come over, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's crazy because it was so ingrained in you. It was so like deep that you knew what you didn't do. That's why you were able to determine that situation is going south, and
There was it wasn't kosher, as they said. There was no way somebody should know where I live.
yeah.
No way.
Wow,
And you were 24.
At the time, yeah.
bro. Right, 24, bro.
Yeah, for real. My goodness. Holy cow.
Oh shit.
I can't even remember 24. I was so inebriated.
Man, I think I got to Hawaii when I was 25.
Really?
Yeah. Because I live here 17 years, huh? I'm 42. So yeah, I got here at 25, bro. I was just working every day.
Yeah.
They would have killed me. Straight up. No doubt.
We both would have lost, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Dead. Like,
We'd-
fuck.
wasted. Yeah, you
Yeah.
see us right? Like, jeez.
That's crazy. So, just for our listeners to understand, so when I met Itamar, the way I know him, I don't know him from back home. I don't know him from Israel, but rather I met him training jujitsu, and some of the people in the gym said, "Yo, you're from Israel, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Oh, there's another guy from Israel here," and I'm like, "Another guy? Like, what are you talking about?" They're like, "Yeah. There's another guy over there." And then sure enough, I go to this guy, and it was Itamar, and he was just rolling with a guy, and they just finished. I think they were talking, and I'm like, "Hey, what's up, man?" In Hebrew, "Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?" He's like, "Excuse me?" I'm like, "Who the fuck is this guy?"
Breaking you down already.
Yeah. And I'm like, "Dude, they said that you're from Israel." "Excuse me?" "Fucker, give me one British accent." Nah. Fucker, give me Jamaican.
Excuse me, man. What?
"Excuse me, man. I'm from Jamaica, not Israel, man. What you talk?"
He's exaggerating. The first time I remember, he said something to me, and I was like, you know, when you're not listening for something, you can't hear it.
Yeah.
And he spoke to me in Hebrew. I just wasn't expecting it, so I was just like, "What?" And I just got finished rolling. My mouthpiece is still in, and he's like, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh, you're Israeli."
And then it took like a minute or two for him to realize I'm really Israeli. And then we kind of kept in touch. We trained a few times together, and then we ended up keeping in touch. I think it was in 2016 or 2017 when we first met.
Yep.
And since then we just stayed in touch through social media, WhatsApp, and stuff like that. And he came to visit. So once I heard he's in town, I said, like, "Fuck, we got to meet. I want you to bring you on the podcast," because from that moment that we met till now, the things that Itamar was able to achieve, and it's really tremendous. And I think each and every one of our listeners would love to just to hear what he's been through and what he was able to create is astonishing and extremely inspiring. So tell us, how did you before we're going to get to how you pivot into being coaching fucking CEOs and the big guys, I have to ask you a few questions. When I met you back in the day, you were a bodyguard.
I wasn't the bodyguard. I was the head of security.
Excuse me.
I was like, give me some credit, man.
Excuse me.
I had a whole team.
Head
I had
of
a
security.
team of Israeli Navy SEALs. Some the British Navy SEALs are called the SBS, the Special Boat Service. Sure, some of them were really, really awesome dudes. And some Nepalese Gurkhas. Gurkhas are basically, they're from Nepal, but they're trained in the British military, and they were really, really awesome. Simple, let's call them simple soldiers. Like, they could watch a door and you would trust in that for 8 hours. They would just watch the door, which is the Navy SEALs, even though they're technically more proficient, they would just get bored of it. So they were phenomenal stars in their roles there. And yeah, so basically, at the time I was doing jiu-jitsu, and then I was like, I'm tired of making zero money from this, even though I'm like pretty good, but I'm making no money. And the guy from Mossad that was my boss, he had ended up opening a big security firm in London. And it was basically like a week after I'd won this big competition in jiu-jitsu, and my girlfriend, who's now my wife, she was like, "Oh, we should go out and celebrate." And then I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Where do you want to go out to?" And she said this like sushi restaurant, but it was a super basic one. And I just remember feeling like, man, I don't know if I can afford this. And I felt so fucking embarrassed. I was like, as a man, I was like, I'm better. How can I not afford a place like this? Then I was like, all right, I'm doing something wrong with my life. Like, so I've chosen a wrong path here with jiu-jitsu, trying to be a martial artist, whatever it may be. And about a week after I decided, like, I need to figure out something other than jiu-jitsu, I got a call from him. He was like, "Hey, man, I opened up this big security firm in London. I just got contacted by one of the Russian billionaires. He bought this $500 million mega yacht. He wants to go around the world, a retirement world tour with him and his family. What do you think about leading this project? You'll get paid more than 2 times you ever got paid in the agency." I was like, done. It was like literally this, okay, I'm in. And basically within, I think, less than 24 hours, he got me a plane ticket. I flew to London. I met the guy's son who lived in London. They basically talked to me about the job, and that was that. We jumped on board.
And then you were living on a yacht?
Jumped on board.
Yeah, so it was literally one of the 10 biggest mega yachts on the planet. So there's, I want to say 9 stories. I don't remember if I remember 9 or 7. There's, a boat, 2 helicopter pads on it, the works.
Wow.
Like 50 crew at all times.
And
It's nuts.
And they just live and exist on it, going wherever, whenever.
Their sunsets, man. Yeah. I mean, he also had villas in other places around the world, and we would hop onto those sometimes. But that was their thing that couple of years, so to speak, the yacht.
I mean, how is it that's kind of tough to secure, knowing that you have so much open anything, right? Like,
Yes and no. So it depends what secure means. Again, like my job wasn't to stop theft, so to speak. There was someone who was a ship security officer that was more kind of his thing. But basically, our job was to make sure that the family was safe. And where that ended is a difference when if there's a specific, it's called threat. That's one thing. If there's just a general threat of this person has a lot of money, so let's just put on some kind of deterrent front, so that if you're someone who's trying to kidnap a billionaire's kid, just be like, you know what? They look like they got their shit together. Let's just go to a different billionaire. That's really all we did.
oh, okay.
It wasn't against a specific threat that like we knew he was always going to be in danger. It was just about creating enough of a deterrent so that the opportunistic attacker would be like, this is actually a bad opportunity. Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's what we did there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I never heard it in that kind of perspective, but makes sense. It's just like keep an honest person honest, like not to get
Not
not an honest person, but yeah, to keep a dishonest person. Yeah.
Like basically the best way this was explained to me when I was working in the agency, I spoke once to a guy who was the head of security for the embassy somewhere in Europe. I don't remember where. And I asked him about his philosophy because he was very respected in the agency. And he said, my whole philosophy is not my embassy. I was like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, if you're Al-Qaeda, you're going to want to take down an Israeli embassy. That's one of your big goals. You're going to want to do that. All I want to do, my job, is so that when you come in looking for intelligence and saying, like, should we blow up this embassy? You'd be like, you know what, these guys are crazy. Let's just go to the one in Brussels.
Yeah.
And then the guy that goes to Brussels, and they're like, you know what, let's go to Athens. These guys are crazy. Then you go to Athens, they're okay. And he's like, that's the goal. It's not my embassy. If I could put up enough of a deterrent, because you still don't have a specific target on me, but a more general one, you'll go to somewhere else. And that's what we try to do in the boat.
Wow, that makes sense. That makes sense. How is it to live on a yacht?
I didn't like it. It's everybody's basically in each other's asses all the time. Like even on a giant yacht that's big, it's a toxic environment. It's really wild. Everybody. So also the way it works is that I had great conditions relatively. I would work 1 month and then I would get paid leave for another month with plane tickets anywhere I want in the world. But a lot of the crew works 5 months on and then 1 month off. So after 5 months of just being on the boat, and a lot of them don't go on land for 5 months. They're just in that boat, even if it's a big boat. It's still a boat.
Yeah.
Like people get stir crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, like everybody's very aggressive and confrontational toward each other. And there's a lot of politics in that whole game. So it was a very, very kind of interesting life experience, you know, flying on the private jet all the time, on the helicopter, being on the boat, going to the nicest restaurants in the world, all that jazz was very cool. But I definitely wouldn't say that was the happiest time of my life in any which way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you were what, 27, 26?
Yeah. Which was also a challenge because I was a lot of times a direct liaison from the boss. He would talk to me. He's like, hey, Itamar, like, we're going to do this and this, get the jet, get this and that. So I would go have to tell the captain, hey, we're going to go do this, we're going to do that. And he's this very proud, 50-year-old individual who's in charge of this $500 million mega yacht, da-da-da. And I'm telling him, like, hey, man, we need to go do that.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think, like, in hindsight, I could have handled that better probably, but I was a 27-year-old. So that happens. So yeah, there's challenges there, man.
Yeah, I bet, man. I mean, just thinking about it, there's a lot of people that get, it's called the island fever. Just people living on this island and Hawaii Island. It's living in Hawaii, it's a beautiful island. Even if you travel between the islands, still you can get island fever. Still, you want to see the mainland. You want to like be able to drive for 3 hours without hitting water. Just to imagine being on a boat, even for 2 months, even for 3 months, but for 5 months, just with the same ass people all the time. Everybody's probably fucking each other, and then,
like no chicks, like, you know what I mean? Like, 'cause there's a lot of family,
chicks,
right?
probably get chicks. Everybody's like,
What, flying them in chopper, I guess, yeah.
no, but the cook.
You're talking about the crew or the boss?
No, the crew.
The crew. There's the stewardesses as well. So there's chefs. I think there's 5 chefs at all time. There's a whole crew of deckhands, like the guys that man the small boats. So in the big boat, there's 3 more boats. That each one of these boats is worth at least like $2 million. It's like proper boats to take you from, because it's such a big boat that it can't go to shore. Like it's too deep. So you have a bunch of smaller boats that can take you. And you have 2 boats that are just for the crew to take them back and forth for provisions, for supplies. Then you also, I think you had 2 or 3, depending on the time where we were, of like what they call the boss boats. That were like these really, really fancy little, I don't know how you call them, a boat for 10 people that could take you somewhere, and it was really like like a limousine, first class, all that kind of jazz. And yeah,
There's no laws out there in the ocean either, huh? What is it called? Maritime law?
but there's a lot of laws. So I actually I was certified as a ship security officer so that I could understand all that. There's a lot of laws, a lot of legalities, a lot of things you got to go with. Yeah, and also because the complexity is that you go to a different country every other day, so you have to comply with their maritime law every time.
And is it extend like X amount of miles offshore of the country?
There's a lot of things like the 3 3 kilometers international waters, territorial waters, all that kind of jazz. But at the end of the day, he doesn't just want to stay in the water. We want to go somewhere.
Mm.
So you have to get there. Somebody usually has to bribe the local customs agent, especially if you're in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
You just have to literally just be like, here you go. This is for you.
Yeah.
Please let us go quickly. And then he's like, okay, you can go quickly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it works.
If you can afford a yacht like that, I'm sure you can bribe your way into. Like,
Stop at Jeffrey Epstein's island just for small time, just for say hi.
Somebody buy me a Jack in a Box, not a sandwich. Buy me a restaurant. Like,
The most ridiculous thing. So 2 stories about that. Can I deviate a little bit before we
Yeah.
get into the serious stuff? Let's call it. So my first day with the big boss, the first day I met him was in the Caribbean. He flown in with the jet to the Caribbean. I was already on the yacht. I just met with his older son, who was 20 something at the time, to kind of like hash out the contracts. And he didn't like walking around with a wallet. So they just gave me a stack of cash. So I had 10,000 euros in my wallet. I had to actually get a bigger wallet because it was literally too thick. And we go off the yacht. We go to this hotel to have lunch there. And on the way into the hotel, there's this gift shop. And this is St. Bart's. St. Bart's is one of the wealthiest little islands in the Caribbean. It's where all the billionaires go on Christmas to kind of show off who has a bigger yacht. And it's just everything there's outrageously expensive. So we go into the gift shop, and his kid, who was, I want to say 2 at the time, pointed at this little alpaca thingy over there. And so the father was like, Itamar, get. And I was like, okay. So I go to get the alpaca thingy. I give it to the lady at the cash register. And she's like, oh, that's 700 euros. And I'm like, I look at her and she's like, oh, it's made out of alpaca fur. And that's why it's. I'm like, okay. And in my head, I'm like, this is my first day with him. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want him to then say, dude, you really spend 700 euros on an alpaca doll? So I'm like, okay, how do I do this? So I go up to him, I'm like, sir, it's 700 euros. And he's like, okay. He was like waiting for the point.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize, but he was literally waiting. He's like, okay, and I get that the ocean's wet. What are we talking? And it was so wild to me. So I bought the alpaca, and obviously 2 minutes later, the kid was playing with it in the sand and the water and all that. But I just recognized
I'm gonna open a store for alpacas in St. Barth.
Yes.
Yeah, fuck everything I do. I'm gonna move to St. Barth, open a fucking souvenir store, man.
Bro,
700 euros.
It's a different level of money. It's like being around those people. You really get to see there's levels of money.
Yeah,
Like I spent a lot of time in Monaco at the casino there. There's the casino Monte Carlo, and there's also a VIP room, which most people don't know about. The amount of money you get, it's wild. It's just wild.
And do they get the same thrills as like a general public kind of person, like you, I, or him, like because when we go in and we throw like hundreds and thousands, like do they get that same kind of thrill when they're gambling, or
the
like?
only time I saw him excited was when he won $1 million. That's the only time I've seen him excited. And he would play every single night at the Casino Monte Carlo when we were in the south of France in the summers. The only time I seen him get excited was when he won $1 million.
Win $1 million.
Euros.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck, that's nuts. That's nuts. That's crazy. It's crazy even to understand, to think about that there's people in this world that have nothing to eat, and then there's people that spend $700 on an alpaca doll because the 2-year-old son says he wants it. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. There's levels to this game. There's definitely levels to this game.
Yeah.
It's almost disrespectful, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, but
So what would make them excited? Like, have being around
Not
them?
much. That's the wild thing.
They
man.
just
I
go by
think-
life like stagnant and.
So here's the thing, man. If you spend your whole life optimizing around how do I only make more money and do it in a way that's perhaps malicious, perhaps pretty cutthroat, because at the end of the day, like all the oligarchs, they were basically, let's call it semi-mobsters.
Yeah.
But they were able to legalize certain things. So if you spend your whole life just optimizing around that kind of behavior and that thought process, it's very hard to switch off. And that's what my biggest lesson from him was. Because I came from a place where I was like having no money. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, this is the answer, more money.
Yeah.
And I was like, he has all the money and he's a miserable human being. He's so unhappy and his kids are disconnected from him. And there's obviously not real love there, but power and control.
Yeah.
And it was a very poignant lesson that like money isn't everything. Not having it is, but it also isn't everything. There's got to be there's this point of diminishing returns. And that was the main lesson. Like I say, I learned from him that like it really is important to have money, but if that's the only thing you focus on, it's like anything else, it's a skill. And if you're so one-dimensional, that's the only skill you focus on instead of how to appreciate your family, how to actually create a connection with those you care about. Guess what? You're going to get to that point in life when you're 60, you have a ton of money, but you're bankrupt everywhere else. And then it's going to really frustrate you because you say, I thought this was going to give me everything, but it doesn't. It's kind of like a very exaggerated version of the midlife crisis a lot of people have in the States. They're like, oh, I got the job, then I got the house, then I got the car, but I feel empty inside. So what happened here? Instead of like switching it around and saying, how do I actually want to feel about my life? What are the emotions? What are the sensations I want to have? Whether it's connectedness, whether it's a sense of accomplishment, whatever it may be. And then how do I reverse engineer that? To really think from like the inside out instead of just the outside and hoping it'll somehow get you magically inside all fulfilled. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. And breaking it down like that makes a lot of sense. I think when we originally met, you said, I remember you was telling me, wow, this guy getting billions and he's unhappy. And I'm
Miserable.
like, fuck. So, I definitely appreciate life and those little moments much more than money. Family is definitely, it's family or adventures or creation. It's definitely gives me way more happiness than financial.
I will say this though. It's because you're at a point where you're successful. Like I don't know if the listeners know exactly what you do and who you are, but you're a successful entrepreneur, dude.
Exotic dancer.
Exotic dancer, yeah. Very humble, but like, dude, truthfully, if you were at a place where you were struggling financially, that would probably be more of a pain. It's like that. The best analogy I've heard is that all the science shows that like when you really break it down into numbers, it's if you go from having to ride the bus to being able to afford your own car, it's gonna make a giant difference in your quality of life. If you go from a Toyota to a Mercedes, so much. So it's really understanding like what's that point of diminishing returns? Because dude, it's like if you had connectedness and all this, but man, you're like, I can't provide for my kids. They want this thing, and I feel embarrassed as a man that I can't give them what they want, like the basic things, like a nice school bag or whatever it may be. Like you'd still feel pretty bad. But once you have those basics covered, let's call it, and again, those basics, they fluctuate. Everybody has their own perception of what basics is. Once you have those covered, then just trying to add more and more, that's probably not what's going to get you to that ultimate place you want to be in life as far as like how you want to live and how you want to feel about yourself as an individual.
True. I can only speak for myself, but in 2012, I bought myself a brand new Range Rover.
Oh.
And I was stoked to drive it. Am I more stoked to drive today my Toyota Tacoma? Fuck yeah! Let's go, Yoda! Way happier.
Yeah.
I don't care when I park. I see stuff on the street, I just toss them on the back.
Yes.
The friends want to move. Bruh, you like my truck? You know what I mean? Like when I had the Range Rover, I didn't want anybody to touch it, anybody to lean on it. I would never give anybody a ride. Insurance was crazy. Monthly payments was crazy. I felt the pain. I felt the pressure, to pay. I back in the day, I remember I paid $1,100 a month.
Oh
to
my
drive
goodness.
that car. And bruh, nonsense. That didn't make me happy. I remember back in the day, I used to have fancy watches because I've been told when I grew up that that people judge you by your watch.
Mm-hmm.
They look at you and they'll judge you by your watch you're wearing. And if you have a Rolex, that means you're doing good. Panerai or all of them, brands, you're doing good. If you have a cheap watch, then they don't take you seriously. And I used to believe in it. And I used to buy the fake ones from Thailand, walk around with a Rolex, just to feel better about myself. But then I realized, bruh, it's such a fucking lie, man.
Yeah.
Are you trying to impress someone you don't even know?
Yeah.
What does that say about you? Because you don't know the guy, right? Because the people that know you, they appreciate you for who you are. Mm-hmm. You don't need to impress them with a watch, right? So basically, who are you wearing that watch for? For people you don't know. Nowadays, I rock this fucking Casio $29.95 Amazon, brah. Fucking live my life, brah. That's where it's at.
Because it tells time.
Tells
What it's supposed
time.
to do. Yeah, both of them do the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of people that say, oh, you can read the time on your phone too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense. For me, it's only for running. You know, when I run, I cannot take my phone. It's, you know, it's just like to see how much. But it makes so much sense. You know, if I had to walk, yeah, it makes big difference to have a car. But between the cars, which car you drive, as long as it gets you from point A to B, happiness is not, you know, connected to what brings you from A to B. I can completely, you know, understand that.
Yeah.
That's very well said, man. And I think, you know, everybody should listen to that, because I feel like nowadays with all the social media, people are just trying to pretend, bruh. You know, just fake it till you make it.
I think it's an instant gratification thing, right? Like I feel a certain way. If I do this, it'll patch that hole right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but people, you know, people look for the happiness in the wrong place. You know what I mean? They try to impress people on social media, you know, that half of them you don't even know. You know what I mean? Like, who are you doing it for? Well, to get those likes? Is that what makes you happy?
Well, I mean, yeah, again, that's what's generated for, right? Like you see the heart. It's supposed to be a positive feeling that it's telling your brain, almost like dopamine hits. Huh?
Yeah, for sure. It makes you feel good. Oh, they like my shit.
Yeah.
But then it puts you down the rabbit hole. Then you want to do it again and again and again. And then you become a fucking whore on OnlyFans. Nah.
I think so. I have a bit of a counter opinion on this. I think a lot of it comes down to a lack of intentionality. So let's put it this way. If you're just doing it because you want everyone to like you, you want to wear a fancy watch so everyone thinks highly of you, that's foolish. It's not going to accomplish much for you, in my opinion. However, if you're saying, you know what, when I'm going to a business conference, I know people make first impressions. So therefore, I have to have this appearance because it's going to generate more income for my business. And I recognize the strategic thing that I'm doing and I'm conscious of it. I'm not just hoping people will like me, but I can see the fiscal impact it'll have. Great. The problem is that people a lot of times go about this stuff without any intentionality. They're just like, oh, I have this intrinsic need to be liked because we're tribal creatures. But then they kind of go berserk with it, whether it's through Instagram or whatever it may be. And I think the big part is understanding that we all have certain core fears that drive our behaviors, how we are psychological creatures. And if we just let them run us rampant, we do stupid things, like just like living on Instagram. However, if we can be aware of them, then we decide how do we play this game? Because humans do play games. In order to succeed in society, in business, or whatever, there's games. So if we can be aware of that and then decide when do I want to play the game and how is it strategic to play it, that's when we can do things without also having this emotional, like I need people to like me. I can just put on this watch during the conference and then afterwards, I actually don't want that attention. When I'm walking down the street, like I think you've seen me here walking down the street, I don't want people to give me attention. However, when I am doing public speaking and big stages and all that, it's strategically important for me to be presentable.
So you bust out your Rolex.
I don't have a Rolex, but other things. And it's like, but I do make an effort to make that appearance because that is the game that I'm playing right there.
So let's put everything on the table. When you talk in front of people, do you wear your sandals or not?
Sometimes yes. Truthfully, but sometimes yes, because it depends where. So about 2 years ago, I was at an entrepreneurs conference that they basically rented out an entire private island in Croatia. And it was very exclusive to get into there. But that was the vibe. That was the vibe. There was more not entrepreneurs that are wearing, suits and ties, but it's like, do you have the ability to make a lot of money and enjoy life and be chill about it? When I gave a talk there, I actually did wear my sandals. Because that was the vibe. But again, it would look ridiculous if I'm going out to Wall Street to talk to a bunch of hedge funds people and I wear my sandals.
I can see that. Every time I see him
just
with
be jealous that I could rock the sandals, man. I look good at it. Just be jealous about it.
First time I saw him with sandals, I'm like, fuck, bro, you look like one white guy from fucking Arizona, bro. What are you talking about? Take them sandals off, bro. You're in Hawaii, put them slippers.
He's cosplaying, bro.
Yeah. Because over here, bro, you got to put them slippers on.
Bro,
no
honestly,
young person goes with sandals.
What I mean? But that's the thing. I don't care at all what people generally think about my footwear. It's more comfortable for me. It's more important for me for my knee health.
No, guarantee.
No, but that's the thing. So I'm like, and that's exactly, I'm aware that that's the game, that people play fashion for specific reasons. So when it's out of context, I'm like, I don't care. I wear my sandals. Yeah. They're comfortable and that's it. And I'm married. I have a kid. Like, I'm out of that game anyway. So.
True. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. But it's a very interesting topic because I think nowadays, life is really surrounded about what you put out there. I mean, now more and more, I see all those videos with the people having stacks of money, and just holding stacks of money on the table. And then sure enough, I saw a company on Instagram. I saw that like the advertisement where they sell you fake bills, right? And they literally say, like their catchphrase is like, show them your money so you can get followers, because if you can show stacks of money, then people are like, fuck, this guy's probably successful, let me follow this guy, let's see what he does. And then one thing leads to another.
Yeah, but at the end of the
this
day,
is
that's
so fake though, and it's just so wrong.
Well, that's what do they call that? Natural selection at that point, right? Like, because if you're gonna follow that person and believe that's the route to go, shoot, we need less of you. Like, go ahead, go follow that guy.
We need less of you.
Yeah, right. It's natural selection. I feel that's just what it is. It's kind of like the pimping whole process, right?
Yeah.
Right. The guy who's dressed up real nice, all this. I get all this money. Come work for me, and then go do your thing, and then all of a sudden, like, you become a worker.
Yeah.
You know?
These are short-term solutions. It's short-term thinking. Put it that way. Everything about that.
Do you ever because you're a very what is the word we were using? Very disciplined. Do you ever break discipline and like just kind of fuck it? Like,
obviously yes, because I'm a human being. I don't want to pretend that's not, but I wouldn't say I'm a super disciplined person. I think I'm just very intentional about what I want and what's required in order for that to be a reality. Like, a big thing I try to base my decisions on is not what's discipline, what's that. It's just what decision will I not regret in hindsight. And that could be even from a micro level, like will I regret at the end of the day not having done the workout or going for a swim in the morning or whatever it may be. And also on a macro level, would I not have regretted not doing this thing or that thing with the business or with my wife or whatever it may be. And usually I find that when I look at things through that kind of filter, what will I not regret in hindsight? It gives me clarity on what needs to happen. And I think when we have extreme clarity, it's much easier to be disciplined because we understand why it's important. That whole, whoever has strong enough why can overcome any how. And I think that's the thing. And the reason I think, and guys, if I'm going too much on a tangent, stop me here. But the reason sometimes it's difficult to be disciplined is because we're thinking in the short term, how does this feel right now? Mm-hmm. So then all of a sudden our survival mechanisms go, that doesn't feel nice, so we shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But if we're able to detach from that by saying, in the future, how will I look back at this? Once the initial discomfort or whatever has subsided, we get a real clear picture of what will actually serve us. So a lot of times when, even on a micro level or on a macro level, I'm asking, what should I do? Like, it's not a matter of discipline, of just pushing harder. But I just ask myself, you know what? When the initial discomfort fades, a year from now, a month from now, a day from now, whatever it may be, what will I be happy past Itamar did? And usually that gives me the direction I should go. And from there, it's like, okay, yeah, I should just do that. It makes sense.
So you've tried Loco Moco with Mac Salad before?
No.
I just had to check.
Because of those reasons, like, I don't want to feel terrible.
Yeah.
I have to nap for 3 hours afterwards.
Yes, that's what like, look at
Really?
it.
I was like, I don't want to have to have all that gravy and have to go to sleep for 3 hours afterwards. I'm good.
I have to check. See, that's why I'm like, I face these same problems, So I'm like,
But actually, it's a good guideline to think, what won't I regret?
Yeah.
Like, don't make decision of like, ask yourself that.
Mm-hmm.
Will I regret that thing? Will I regret not going, or will I regret going? And make sense, because a lot of times we know the answer. Mm-hmm. We know what makes us feel good and what makes us feel bad. We just don't ask us the right questions to understand the right answers, to motivate us to do the right things. So how did you actually adopted your own technique of coaching all those people? Because when you talk, you can clearly see that you know what you're talking about. You have experience. The way you express yourself in a very articulate way. How did you evolve into this, from saving people's lives and guarding people and making people don't die, to making sure people succeed?
Yeah, great question. So how do I want to tackle it? So there's two parts of it. First off, at a certain point, like I said, I didn't like working with the billion. Like it wasn't a positive atmosphere there. And even though the pay was good, I was like, I just don't like it. And also all the people that I saw that were 10 years older than me, and adjacent kind of things, that were doing my kind of jobs. Like you meet other billionaires and they all seemed unhappy. So I was like, okay, so if there's no happy old dogs here, like I need to get out, so to speak. And I read the 4 Hour Work Week. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have done. And I was like, I can do something else. So I opened up a marketing agency. I absolutely knew that it was not what I wanted to do with my future. I was 100% sure of it, but I was like, it's something where I can get out of this game. I'm willing to accept a big dip in my finances in order to get out of this, but hopefully go up in the future. And I'm going to stack skill here of learning how to market, learning how to do certain things, learning how to build a business. And we'll see what the future unfolds. Like, but I'm just going to take action. I'm going to move forward, and the path will kind of appear. And I did that for about, I want to say just over a year, and it was going all right. Definitely not blowing up, amazing. It was going all right. And then I got an opportunity to attend a conference for entrepreneurs, and a lot of them were 7 and 8 figure agency owners. And I asked the organizers, like, hey man, can I give a talk here about my experience from the special forces, how to deal with stress, how to make decisions under pressure, all that kind of jazz? And he was like, yeah, man, that'd be awesome. Like, okay, cool. And so I gave the talk, and at the end of it, I was like, by the way, guys, my agency, I'm just kind of starting up. So if this talk was helpful for you guys, I'd really appreciate any insights. I know there's a lot of people here that are a lot more successful than me. I'd really appreciate if you guys could share any knowledge with me. I'm like, I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to do whatever needs to be done. I'd love to hear from you. And when I finished the talk, there were like 12 people. Usually when you finish a talk, a lot of people come talk to you and like ask questions, da-da-da. And there's 12 people that came like, so our advice to you is don't do this anymore. You should be a coach. And I talked a little bit there about my jujitsu background. I was like, no, I don't want to do any jujitsu anymore. And they're like, no, we mean a business coach. You could be phenomenal at it. And I was like, that's a thing? And they were like, yes, that's a thing. And then 2 of them were like, can we pay you right now to sign up? And I was like, that sounds so much better than running an agency. Yeah. And basically from there, I got my first 2 clients. And we did this kind of like beta program. I wanted to see if I'd actually want to do it. And it was off to the races. It was this kind of weird, almost product market fit, where it was, because it started in a community, I got certain people results, and we got pretty amazing results. I got one guy within a year, we got him from 10K a month to $1.5 million a month. We got these really, really amazing results. We got another guy, I think he went from 10K profit to 200K recurring profit in a very productized agency, which is very hands off. And people just started to talk. And the way I developed it was that I just kept trying things. Like I was very fortunate that I went on a podcast when I was just getting started, and the guy at the end of it, he's a very successful business individual. And after we finished, I was like, hey man, do you have any advice for me? He was like, systematize it. You have to have a system. If you just be a coach, that's all you'll be. You'll never grow beyond it. So I was like, okay, so I have to figure out a system. And I coached, like if you looked at my calendar back then, it was just packed. I had like 10 coaching calls a day, just coaching. And the way I looked at it, I was like, this is amazing. People are paying me just for this research. That's the way I kind of thought about it. That was my frame. Like, I'm not working for this. You guys are paying me to do this research. And I would just try out a lot of things, and certain things would be like, ooh, this made a really big impact. And a lot of the stuff was the lessons I learned from the Mossad's head of psychology. And to kind of like bring it back, that when I met Jonathan here in Hawaii, we hung out and it was a great time and all that. And then I said to him one time, like, dude, this is kind of weird. I think you Israeli guys are like the first friends I've made about 7 years. And he was like, that's kind of fucked up, dude. He's like, why do you think that is? I was like, I think it's because of the Mumbai stuff. I think it's because I associated subconsciously that anyone who's not Israeli is a threat. That's what I was taught. So even though I was traveling around the world doing jiu-jitsu, I talked to people, but I never had any friends. And I remember feeling so lonely for this big part of my 20s. And Jonathan was like, yeah, bro, that's not normal. You should see some help. And like, honestly, at the time, like, Jonathan was a dude that I respected, and I apprecited his perspective on it.
Respected, like in
past tense. Now I know him better. It's like, and because honestly, like, and this isn't something I feel like proud to say, but at the time of being a 20-year-old, I was like, okay, that's an alpha enough story that I almost got kidnapped by Al Qaeda, so I can go see some help with it. And through my back channels, I got in touch with the Mossad head of psychology, and we first worked on that. We kind of unwound that, and he helped me relieve a lot of that stuff, which was extremely, extremely challenging. Like, I remember coming out of those sessions just like drained out of blood, exhausted, but we just really had to rewire my brain and what I thought certain things meant. That if I meet someone who's not Israeli, then they're a danger. Just completely like detach that kind of a neural link, so to speak. So a lot of the lessons from him, and I took that, I systematized it, and every once in a while, I would do a coaching session with someone, something would click. And I'd be like, ooh, I'm taking that. Like, I remember there was one instance, there was one guy I was coaching, and I knew somebody else who was also a consultant. He was a marketing consultant. He's like, dude, if he just does this one thing, his business is going to 4x overnight in profit. Not any overhead, because he was selling courses. So it was just something that's scalable. It doesn't create any like headache. Just, he's like, he's going to go from 20K to 80K if he just does this one thing, which is send more emails to his list. And I was like, okay, so let's figure this out while you're not doing this. And we kind of boiled down, we started flushing out his subconscious, how he thought about these things. And what we recognized that he grew up Irish Catholic. And so making money there was greedy. That's how he was growing up. And he never understood that that's what the kind of the messaging that he got from his environment. And we broke down that he had a belief that if I make a lot of money, then people will think I'm greedy. And another belief that if people think I'm greedy, then no one will love me and believe me. And you can see if that's his chain of thought, he wouldn't want to make more money. He would limit himself. So we figured that out, and then we said, what's actually true? And logically, now as adults, I get that that's what you thought when you were 10 years old as a kid, and that's what you kind of held on to so far. Now as an adult, let's take some space. What do you think is actually true? He's like, man, if I make more money, I can retire my wife. I can do a lot of good things in the community. I should just do this, man. It's wild that I think this way, because he wasn't recognizing, but I should do this. And within a week, the business literally just jumped to 80K. And I was like, okay, this is a thing. Let's take that into the system. And it was a lot of those kind of processes. When I work with certain people and I'm like, dude, you have the skill set to be doing a lot more. You're like, you have an 8 out of 10 skill set, but you're only executing at a 5 out of 10. So that means you don't need more skills. It's your mindset. You're blocking yourself. And I kept trying to figure out what are all these other methods that we can use to get people like that. And then it was also, okay, how do we put these things in an arc, in a beautiful arc? And the fortunate thing was my wife, she actually had a background in curriculum building. When she was younger, she built out the English curriculum for the southern province in South Korea. So she was really able to help me and say, okay, you got all these like great pieces. How do we put them in a chain where it all adds up together? And that's kind of how the program came about and why it gets the results that it does. Like, I think also the big thing is that when a lot of mindset programs, they're good to, like how we talked about it a bit off air, like make you feel really motivated, really good, all positive, da-da-da. I'm like, I don't care about any of that. The only way we can see if this is a success or not is if your business has actually multiplied. You had a goal to make this much money. We recognized before you signed up for the program that you have things in place, but you're the bottleneck, your psychology. How can we resolve that so you can actualize it? And I think that's why our program succeeds. It actually focuses on tangible results. So it puts a lot of pressure on me and us to actually perform because we get measured. And that was something that I always wanted to put in place. I wanted to put a mechanism in place where I think coaching gets a lot of times a bad rap, justifiably so. Mm-hmm. Because some 20-year-old chick in Bali can just say, I'm a life coach.
Yeah.
Because you can't really tangibly measure if she succeeded or not. There's no accountability there. But I said, I want to have to force myself to have accountability. It's going to suck sometimes, but it's going to force me to grow and learn. And that's kind of what we did.
It's crazy that you mentioned that because, I have nothing against my cousin, but my cousin, Natalie, she's a life coach. And
he has nothing against her, but
yeah, it's nothing personal. It's nothing personal. I'm just giving her as an example because there's so many people, just like you said, they're a life coach. Yeah. But then you ask them, what did you do in life? I went to school and then I became a mother and I understand that, but why? What do you know more than I? Well, how many jobs did you do? What's your experience? How many situations did you have to solve? Like, what is your background that gives you the ability to guide me to a better future, to a better tomorrow?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people, they become coaches, but they have nothing to show for. And that's why I kind of degrading the word coach, life coach, into something very like another life coach.
Yeah.
But I think you took it to a different place where it's, like you said, it's based on results. If there's no results, we're doing something wrong.
It's you literally, the way we have it is we have 100% money back guarantee on what we do. And I don't know any other program that does that because of that. Because I wanted to put us in a corner, basically.
Yeah.
That we have to like fight our way out of it to make something that works.
So basically what you say, let's say, and I just want to reiterate. So you said, let's say you have a skill, on a scale from 1 to 10, you have a skill of 8, but you produce as if you have a skill of 5. That means that you're missing the right mindset.
It means you're holding yourself back.
you're holding yourself back.
So the way I like to say it is, if somebody else with your exact skill set could be accomplishing more, that means you have a mindset issue, because you have the skill set to be achieving more, but you're holding yourself back. And it usually comes down to a certain subconscious fear, or just a lack of ability about how to manage that lower part of you that's more primal, more reactive. Let's call it like the back of your head, your amygdala, the lower level you, from popping out when things get stressful. And all of a sudden you do stupid
but
shit.
is there a practical way where you implement, like where you translate what you're saying, like the psychology, into practical thing, like what to do and what not to do?
Absolutely. So the way it works, so here's kind of like the whole system in an overview. And this is something we're going to be sharing also like in the book. And I'll talk about it later, but we're sharing it like 100%. So first off, you got to get really clear what's your focus for the next called season, like how we talked about earlier. For the next 6 months, what is the main thing you want to accomplish? Like you can have everything you want, you can have anything you want, but not everything you want at the same time, so to speak. So what's the one thing you really want to focus? Perhaps it's your business. Perhaps you're saying, actually, the bottleneck is my business is doing great, but my health is deteriorating, or my love life is terrible. So what's the one thing you want to focus on? Great. We're clear on that. Okay. Now, in order for that to be a reality, somebody else, not you, with all your emotions, all your biases, all your like fears and all your bullshit stories, if somebody else really wanted to focus on this, what would you say would be the main key actions they need to take on perhaps a daily or a weekly basis? And you figure out, okay, I need to do X, I need to do Y, I need to do Z. Maybe I need to delegate more, maybe I
So
need
basically,
to hire
they
this.
solve their own problem. You're just collecting the money.
Basically. But again,
you
but
guide them.
Say,
You guide them.
but I do want to say that
Yeah.
this is important. I also think with a lot of coaches, if a coach, unless they really are this wonderful unicorn, they need to know their lane. Like I work with a lot of guys from various industries, like the poker champion that we talked about, like last week when we were sitting down. I don't know shit about poker, but I'm able to help him clarify how to understand his own psychology. That's it. I'm not going to tell you how to run your business. I don't know how to tell you how to hire a giant sales team and train everybody up. But if you know how to do that, you have the skill set, but you're not doing it, I can help you resolve that. So we figure out what are the things you need to do. And then that's where my actual expertise comes into play. We flush out your subconscious around those specific things. So it's not about, hey, tell me about your past, about your childhood. What happened there?
Yeah.
And let's go general and like hopefully something will kind of fit and you'll feel better and more free. But these are the specific things you have to do. For example, I have to delegate in order to grow the team. Okay. What are your beliefs around delegation? What have been your past experiences? And usually you'll see that these experiences are things either from early childhood that just have this like, overarching big effect, or things from, let's call it, your early career. So if, for example, your first hire turned out to be terrible and he actually like stole from you or whatever it may be, because he was your first hire, you'll have this belief that hires are danger. If it was your 100th hire, he'd be like, okay, that was just a data point. Some of them are like that. Every 100. So it's really about clarifying what's blocking you from doing these things. What's calling that resistance. You know what you're supposed to do. There's some subconscious resistance that's stopping you from doing that. Can we clarify what that is? Great. Now it can be falsified. Like, is this actually true? That most people are like this or most people are that, whatever it may be. Great. Now you understand on a logical level. But we're emotional animals. So it's great that you know that on a logical level, but when things get heated, you're not going to be able to actually stop that. So we go from there is we figure out how can we catch it when you're going from logical mode to emotional mode. Because if we can stop you from doing that, you won't make unforced errors. That's the big thing. So we use a couple tools in order to figure that out, in order to figure out how you can catch yourself before you get emotional, or like as you're micro getting emotional. And then we also give you this kind of entire system on how to get back into this logical state of mind. And that's what I did with the poker player. Like he already knew the plays, he knew everything. We were able to skip the first two things because he was so clear. But it was just about how can we help you catch yourself when I think they call it going tilt or whatever it may be, to stop you from getting emotional. Or if you are, you can catch it before you actually do anything stupid that you'll regret. And then what can we do in order to get you back to that logical mode where you're calm, collected, and you can actually execute up to your skill set? And that's why he jumped all the rankings.
So a poker professional, someone that plays in the world poker, they just reached out to you and they explained to you like, look, this is what's happening. I don't reach the top 10 or I don't reach the whatever. And it's because, and they explain to you why, and then you break it down, or
they give me their hypothesis, and usually I'm able to see much deeper than that. Because again, it's my job. It's like, so they're usually able to say, like, I think I'm doing this, I think I'm doing that. I'm usually able to ask them a couple questions, and then they're like, I'm like, okay, this is what's actually going on. What's actually going on is that you have this fear of judgment. And every time when something happens and it doesn't go your way, especially when you're on the televised, like on the final table, whenever somebody like gets the better of you, they tricked you or whatever it may be, you get so fucking angry because you're just like the little kid again who's 10 years old who migrated from a different country and was made fun of. And all of a sudden that part of you pops up, and that's the part that's playing, not your 30-year-old, very calm, collected self. That's the thing we got to eradicate. Because if we can make sure that it doesn't happen, you're already skilled enough. Like you said, again, I can't help you with poker. But if you're saying you're skilled enough to win these tournaments, but sometimes, man, you just lose it and you're not at your best, that we can solve.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. For me, you know, every time I'm in Vegas and I gamble, I play composed for the first hour. I make money, and after 1 hour, I'm already drunk from the free drinks. Then I get emotional. I'm not rational anymore. And that's their trick too, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, fuck everything on red, everything on black, fuck it, double down, split him. And then, of course, I lose everything. So I completely understand that this is, sometimes we just need to fight our own I mean, there's always a fight between the rationalism and the emotional.
Yep.
And then if you can differentiate and understand, this is the logic, the rationalism is the logic. Emotional means feelings, which means you don't act with your brain. You don't take everything into consideration and make the right judgment call, but rather you are impulse, you emotional about it. Then yeah, you most likely to not make the right decisions. I can definitely
Can I add a ripple to that?
for sure.
Think about it this way. Our brain, when we evolved 100,000 years ago, our brains are not wired to see reality for what it is. They're wired to help us evolve, to help us survive. So what that means is they over-exaggerate danger. And sometimes completely make it up because we're wired to survive, not to really succeed. So if I feel any kind of tension, my brain immediately goes into this fight mode or flight or whatever it may be. Instead of saying, you know what, this is actually a non-issue. This is not a danger. That person on Instagram saying something about me or whatever it may be, that's not an actual threat.
Yeah.
We're not 100,000 years ago in the savannah where we were a tribe of 30 people. And if somebody said something very negatively about me, it could actually be a real existential threat. Because what if that person doesn't like me and they kick me out of the tribe? Oh no, I'm in the savannah by myself. I'm going to die. We still have those kind of disproportionate reactions a lot. And it's that part of our brain, the most primal, was the thing that evolved first. And that's why I say it kicks off first. If we can control that part of our brain, understand that it's a part that's always going to be there, that's when we can give ourselves a chance.
It's a negativity bias, yeah?
Yes. Like if you ever find yourself asking, like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Shit, I should. You did that because that part of you took control. That's usually what happens.
A lot of people live. That's why negative, news is so popular, or like, because it feeds on that bias of that lion gonna kill me. Right when you're back in the day, right, you would see the lions like, that lion's gonna kill me because it can.
Yeah, but to that point, what about all the extra positive people? Like for the people that say, which I also I don't really connect with. All the people that say, fake it till you make it, or slash, manifest.
Manifest. If I put the thoughts in the universe, it'll come.
Dude, it drives me nuts. And I do get it. Like, you have to manifest. You need to know what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But like, for me, it's like, first wake up early,
Yeah.
go to fucking work,
Mm-hmm.
and then manifest. Not manifest and hope that shit will happen. And I know so many people my age and younger than me that they're just manifesting. And they say, don't worry, it'll come. I just got to continue to manifest and see it. And I think people are getting carried away by manifesting. I do understand the importance of manifesting, but I feel like people took it way too far.
I think there's a confusion in the difference between target and strategy. So let's put it this way. If your belief, if what you set as a target, how high you can go, is only, let's say, 2, even if you have a perfect strategy to get there and you execute, you wake up, you do all the things, you're just going to get to a 2. And that's where I think it's important to, say, like, manifest or whatever you want to call it, or dream of bigger things to achieve. Now, with that, that's only for the setting the target. The execution of it, you cannot sit on your ass and just manifest.
Yeah.
That you actually have to get things done. It's just about understanding there's two different components here. There's the setting of the targets, and then there's execution in order to make them happen. And that's the thing. You can manifest the execution of the targets. And again, I don't know what that means to people. There's so many different variations of it. Basically, dream big, set big goals, very audacious that are above your current level of competence, but then do the work to make yourself able to hit those goals. This is about differentiating the two. It's like what you're setting as your goals and how you're going about to execute towards them.
Yeah. I think also, before I came to the United States, I was a bartender at Sushi Samba Tel Aviv, and I had a very successful guy come to sit on the bar. I was managing the bar at the time, and he sat on the bar, and we had a conversation, and I said, can I get you guys drinks? And he said, I'm not drinking. And I said, how come you're not drinking? You sit on the bar with a beautiful young lady. How come you guys are, she's drinking, you're not drinking? So I stopped drinking, but we're celebrating. I said, well, what are you guys celebrating? So I just sold my company for I don't know how many millions.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, what did you do? I said, I just came back from.
We both know that Jonathan was thinking really like, what's my tip gonna be?
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, shit is on. And then he was kind of telling me that he sold his company for medical appliances, and I said, oh, so you're a doctor? He said, no. But I knew I want to make money. I knew I want to help people. I knew I can do this. I started off very, as you know, he worked in a moving company like other Israelis in New York. He saved that money. And then from that, he opened this. And from that, he opened that. And then he invested and he brought the right people to do the right job. He was no PhD, he had no previous experience, but he knew where he wants to get, but he also knew that he needs money for it. And he wasn't shy to go do any work that needs to be done to achieve the first step into the multiple staircase that he needs to climb in order to get to the final goal. And I said, what is your best suggestion? Because I'm actually leaving in a few weeks to United States. And he said, you see, the problem is most of the people, they set the goal too high and they only look at that goal. And that goal is very frightening and you know you will never get it. But if you set the goal high, but you say, what is the first step that I need to reach? And then from the second to the, from the second to the third and from the third to the fourth, then it's not as intimidating and you can actually achieve it. And then I saw my approach and my state of mind versus my other friends' state of mind. And my other friends, they're like, oh, I want to be a millionaire. Okay. I never said I want to be a millionaire. I said I want to have a good job. I want to travel. I want to buy this. I want to, I want to have enough money to do that. And that is easier. When you constantly try to be a millionaire and you constantly try to hit it big, then you only try to do big things and you only you don't do the small things. You don't focus on actually waking up, going to work. You all the time waiting for a better option, for a better solution. You leave this job to do that job. Oh, I make $5 more here. I make $5 more there. I make $2 more an hour over there. Fuck this place. I can make $10 over there. But they don't understand if they would have stayed in the first place for that amount of time, for those 5 years, they would have been making exponentially more than in the third job that they got $10 more an hour. And for me, I never had that. So for me, I had that commitment. Okay, I commit to this for the next step. I commit to that for the next step. And I saw the difference in what I did and what my peers did. And I will never forget this guy because it kind of set my
Compass.
It kind of put me in the right track because I could have been like everybody else. Oh, I just want to do this. I just want to do that. And I see so many people that transferring jobs to get $1 more an hour or $2 more an hour. I'm like, dude, just stay where you are. Stay committed. Pull through 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, 1 year, year and a half, 2 years. See where you get, learn, take that experience, take that knowledge. Now you're worth way more. Now you can get much more in any other job. But if someone comes to me and he shows me his resume and I see he did 8 jobs in a year and a half, I'm like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
I don't care where you worked. I don't care which restaurant, where you manage. You're not going to work for me because you're going to switch a job in 2 months if someone offers you 60 cents more an hour.
I think a part of it is that I see a correlation there with entrepreneurs that they don't jump to $6 more here. They're just jumping to this big other whole entire business. And usually when I see that, it's a lack of ability to handle challenge or to handle what's called embarrassment. Because when you're actually engaged in an activity building a business, you're going to feel embarrassed at times. God, we didn't do this right. I didn't say that the right thing. We made this mistake, whatever it may be. But when you're just thinking about something as an opportunity, there's just this wonderful world of hope where you don't think about actually like what are the emotional downsides. Just thinking about the upside.
Yeah.
And usually when that happens, when people switch around a lot, it's because they didn't preemptively accept and expect that some things are going to suck. So whenever that happens in this business, they're like, oh, I'm going to build this marketing agency or the SaaS or whatever it may be. They're like, oh, I did it, but then it got really hard. So you know what? Let me try to do something with crypto because that's going to be easy. And then do that. And then they meet the hard there. And then they're like, you know what? Maybe there's a different thing. And a part of it is just understanding like some things are hard. And if you're in an opportunity vehicle where you've seen other people accomplish and get the kind of thing that you want to get, you can stay there. It's just going to be hard. Like I went about it a bit differently than you. Like I set certain goals that I did have financially. They were at that time seemed pretty big goals. And my whole thing was like, what is required to get here? Even if it's going to suck, even if it's going to be painful, it's going to be a lot of work. What is required for me to get to this level where I can charge this much for these kind of clients, whatever it may be? And it was more kind of reverse engineering that process. So it wasn't about going 1 step, 2 step, 3 step. It was saying, I want to get to 10. So what needs to be at 9, 8, 7, in a bit of a different way. You know what I mean?
But still you broke it down in small increments and what to do first.
And I didn't get fancy.
Yeah.
I didn't think I deserved to already be at step 8.
Yeah.
That was I think that was one of the bigger challenges that I had, especially in the marketing agency, because all of a sudden I went from, having a lot of status, working with the billionaire, getting a lot of money, flying around private jets, or even when by myself, flying business, whatever it may be. And all of a sudden you're working with these like, $500 a month clients. And again, I don't want to say, everyone has different levels of money. I get that. But working with these clients that were, in my perspective, of a lower level, and I had to take a lot of shit from them sometimes. And I just realized, this is just what's required. I need to learn a new skill set. I'm not good enough right now to make money in a way that I want to make, which is online, which is remote, where I could be anywhere I want in the world. So this is the reality of it. And I think a lot of times people don't want to accept the reality of like, we're just not good enough right now. We need to work on it. So it's like, it's not me. I just have to switch a job. I have to switch a different business or whatever it may be. Right now, we have goals in our business. I can't hit the goals that we want to hit right now. I am not capable of it. I have to grow into it. And that's a reality that I accept. That because of these goals, I will feel inadequate every day. Because guess what? I am inadequate. Like I haven't learned that skill set yet. But just accepting that as a process for me has been very freeing. Because I intentionally, preemptively accept that, when it happens, and I'm like, shit, I don't know how to do this, that voice in my head that immediately pops up and say like, oh, run, we're in trouble, there's danger, there's uncertainty, maybe there's a lion, like you said, on the other edge of that. I'm like, no, this is supposed to be here, dude. It's fine. We know what we signed up for. You're supposed to feel uncomfortable here.
Yeah.
You're supposed to feel like, I don't really know how to do this. You're supposed to feel all this kind of insecurity or whatever. It's okay. It's part of the game. It's supposed to be here. There's nothing wrong. It's a feeling. It's not a fact, and it's not an actual sign that something's wrong. Just a feeling that you gotta have. I think for me, that's been a very helpful way to think about it.
Well, to that topic, I will just share some short personal anecdote. Back in the day, I had a lot of kiosks in the Aloha shopping center, and I sold all kind of items. And when the item didn't sell too good, I'm like, okay, let me open another item. And then I opened another item, and then another item. I ended up with 11 kiosks in the Ala shopping center. I had 2 in the international marketplace, in the old international marketplace. You remember in Colorado, all one. And I ended up paying over $100,000 in rents every month. So every first of the month, I needed to pay over $100,000 in rents. And the level of anxiety, the level of stress, the level of unhappiness, of not being able to be a good father, to be a good husband, to be a good friend, was crazy. And I always thought, okay, let me. This business is okay. It makes me so and so much money, so I need to multiply. I need more of that, more of that, more of that, more. And I just kept on adding and adding. I ended up closing all the stores, losing, I would say, over $400,000. And my dad and my family said, fuck, come back home. Like, you didn't make it. It's okay. Just come back home. Just come back home. And they said, go move to Barcelona where your brother lives, and he gonna take care of you.
Oh.
He gonna help you to get back on your feet. And back then, my wife said, look, if you would invest the same amount of effort, time that you spend on those 11 kiosks that you have, if you just spend it with Aroma Cafe, back then I already had Aroma Cafe, I had one location at the Ilikai. If you spend the same amount of time at the Ilikai location, you will grow it to be a big company. And I told my dad, look, give me 8 months. If I don't grow the company, if I can't make it with Aroma Cafe, I'll come back home. And sure enough, it was, just invest your time and effort into the right place and not being all sporadic, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there. Be committed. And if you're not committed and you just are afraid to fail, so you just, it's easier to just open a new one. Oh, maybe the blessing will come from here. Oh, fuck the shit. Maybe the blessing will come from here. But I used to sell fucking pillow pads. You remember them pillow pads?
Oh shit!
You know the pillow that,
Yes.
that is a pet, but it's like a pillow. You know what I mean?
I thought you said pillow pads. I was like, I don't even know what that is, Johnny. What were you
No,
saying?
you remember pillow pads?
Yeah.
And then I used to have, I used to fly in candles and soaps from Turkey, and in shapes of donuts and chocolate and skirts, and I used to light up T-shirts and wind chimes and like you name it. I just was trying to make it. Just trying to hustle as much as I can all day. And back in the day, I used to work 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. 7 days a week. And nothing. Just fucking treading water. Just fucking going. I mean, I was able to pay my rent. I had a roof over my head. But back in the day, I guarantee you, I had about roughly $80,000 in credit card debt. And I don't know if you know, have you ever been deep in the credit card game?
Not that deep.
So the credit card game is the worst game you can ever play because you get the 18% interest, and then
Yes.
every month you don't even able to pay the interest. So you pay, but it's only rising.
Yeah.
It's fucking going higher and higher and higher and higher, and you like.
Yes.
And
I'm in
it's
the
just
middle of it right now. I'm just like, what the fuck, man?
Didn't I just pay $700? And you're
Yes.
like, bruh, that didn't do shit. And then it goes back. And bruh, that stress you don't want to have. I'm telling you straight up. So now, for all the people that are listening and are in that game, fuck the credit cards, bro. Fuck the credit card. And to all the people that are trying to open more businesses or try to do more things just to make it, focus. I think that's the name of the game. Yeah.
I think a way to kind of summarize what you said, I think it's like very well said, is that we usually create a lot of technical complexity to avoid emotional difficulty. So if I can tell you, listen, you got to do this one emotional difficult thing. You got to really believe in yourself, not hope that some other opportunity will save you somehow. You got to bet on yourself. That's difficult. Saying, hey, why don't you just do all these things that maybe somehow work, but you don't have to really like say, am I going to bet on myself? We'll usually gravitate towards that. I think it's a big part of it. If you just do the thing that you know you would tell somebody else to do, but you're afraid to do it, do it. It's what in hindsight you won't regret if you do.
Yeah. I think my awakening was when I had to sell my car and I had to ride my bicycle to work. And being an owner of a coffee shop and, one day driving with a Range Rover and then a few years later riding a bicycle, it'll teach you the right lesson. It will teach you that everything else is, nonsense. And you need to bet on yourself and nonstop. You need to fucking hustle. Because in life, honestly, sometimes you need to see the very bottom. You need to hit rock bottom to understand that you need to step it up. Because sometimes we lie to ourselves, bro, I'm so good at this, bro, I'm so good, bro, I deserve it, bro. I work so hard. Do you? Do you really? Did you do everything in your power? Did you wake up at 4 a.m, at 5 a.m? Did you train before you go to work? Did you eat right? Did you, go to work fucking determined to succeed? If you don't do all the A, B, C, all the fucking list of things that you have to do, it's not going to work out. It will, but in a very, okay level. But in order to achieve greatness, you gotta fucking invest greatness.
That's crazy. I didn't know you were a bartender.
Yeah.
So it all makes sense now because you circled back to like what you were originally
Yeah.
great at.
Actually, I used to throw events too. I used to be a promoter in Israel.
No way.
So for me, this is all
This
very
is all.
yeah.
Brah.
Everybody that knows me,
Brah.
they always tell me, right, you can't get away with this shit.
Yeah.
And I still design my own shirts, like all the shirts for Secret Spot, all the logos I still do myself. And again, everybody that knows me is like, bruh, you've been doing that for years, like that's you. Yeah, because it feels natural to me. Now I do what I like, but I'm committed to it. Before, when in sales, I didn't do what I like. I sold stuff that I don't believe in, that I didn't like, and I did it for the money, not for the passion.
Yeah.
So when you do it for the money, you do a lot of, stuff that you're not really proud of. And if you're not proud of what you do, then
You hold yourself back.
yeah,
You always hold yourself back on a certain level.
yeah. Now I'm like, I enjoy what I do. I'm proud of what I do, and I'm proud of what I created.
Yeah.
So I come with passion to work, and it's a different level of and I also know what I'm not good at. Like I admit I'm not good at this and this and that, and I bring the people, and I'm willing to pay the money for the people that are good at that. I'm like I'm the least tacky person you'll ever meet in your life, and I understand it. Like I just don't get it. For me to operate the iPad, I feel like I'm like a hacker. So I know I got to bring the right people to help me with the shit I'm bad at, and focus on the thing I'm good at.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to do things you're bad at and you don't want, it's not going to work. You're forcing yourself to a miserable path.
You're not successful. Beyond misery, just not going to be successful.
Yeah.
You suck at it.
You suck at it.
Yeah, it's for real. It's like you're just doing things you're not good at. It's not reasonable to think you'd get a good result.
Yeah. And honestly, nowadays, it's important, I think what comes first, happiness, and then you'll be successful, or first you're successful and then you're happy. It's a tricky game.
I think it's not an either or, it's just in ratios. I think like we talked about earlier with the money. I think from what I've experienced and what I've seen in others, if you're broke and you're really struggling to have food in your mouth, financial success will give you a lot of happiness.
Yeah.
Once a certain threshold is reached, more finances are probably not going to be the bottleneck until you having the great. I think it's just always understanding kind of the theory of constraints. What's the current bottleneck that's holding you back from having what you say you want on the really big picture? So if you're completely broke right now, making money is going to solve that in a big way. That's a current bottleneck. If you already have an abundance of money and you keep focusing on just solving that problem when it's not actually a problem anymore, that's when it's going to be a bit empty. And from all the research, what it says, like when you cross 150, or like inflation probably has changed this, but say 150K a year, like pretty much everything from there is diminishing for most people.
Oh. So if you had to give like a good suggestion to our listeners, or people that want to open their own business and they're afraid to do that leap from being employed to become self-employed, what is the one thing you feel they should focus on, or what is the one thing that you can recommend?
I'll answer a bit of a different way. I think it's the first thing they have to accept, that there's going to be a dip. If they just think they're going to graduate completely from, employee to business owner, and there's going to be this, I ascend, they're going to have a bad time, because reality
100%.
is going to meet them in a very different way.
100%.
If they can preemptively accept, I'm going to face a certain dip. I'm going to go from making whatever I am to making a lot less and working a lot more. But it's going to have this opportunity to go up. And also on the way to go up, it might go down again, like how you said. If they can preemptively kind of expect and accept that, it goes such a long way in able to be and stay resilient. Like, let me give kind of an analogy. If we walk down the street, you and I just walking down the street here in Waikiki, and all of a sudden your skin turns red, you get these goosebumps, and you feel really cold. You're gonna be like, bro, what's going on here? Like, I think I need to go to the hospital. Something's wrong. You'll be terrified because you didn't expect it. If we go to an ice bath, and I'm like, listen, man, we're going to this ice bath. Your skin's going to get red. You're going to get goosebumps. You're going to feel really cold. But there's a lot of benefits for you. So it's going to suck a little bit, but it's okay. You can stay calm. It's part of the game, so to speak. When it happens, it might still suck. Like it's going to be cold, but it won't freak you out. And it won't cause you to panic all of a sudden. And a big part of it is the same thing. If you're going to accept, if I take this kind of path of entrepreneurship, if I can accept that dip and what it means, both on a financial level, on an emotional level, on a status level, and I can accept that's a part of it, when I go ahead and walk that path and I meet those things along the way, they won't all of a sudden confuse me, cause me to back away and think something's wrong. I'll just see them and be like, okay, this was supposed to be here. It'd be great if it wasn't, but it is. Part of the game, let's keep going. So I think that's the biggest thing. And I think it's not just for people who are starting out, but it's also for people graduating from different levels of their business. Like a lot of times people graduate from solopreneurs to having a team, from having a team to having a business, and so on and so on and so on. It's just about graduating the mindset. Saying every time before you go up, there's usually be some kind of dip.
Yeah.
And if you can preemptively accept and expect what those things are going to be, it goes such a long way in being able to deal with it.
Yeah. A lot of people that trying to be their self-employed, they always say, "Oh, I want to be my own person. I want to do my own time. I want to create my own schedule." People don't understand. You will work more, make less
At the start.
for a long time, though. Like it, sometimes short, sometimes less, but it'll break you.
If you don't accept it. Yeah. If you think it's not supposed to be that way.
So embrace be ready to be broken so you can build up again. If you're not ready to be broken, I think, it'll break you completely.
I saw this lecture. It's called The Last Lecture. And it was by there's a university called Carnegie Mellon. And it's a tradition that a professor on his kind of like last way out, he gives this lecture about whatever he wants, about life, whatever, and be to the whole faculty. And there was this one professor who was dying of cancer. And he wanted to give this lecture about life. And he said something there that stuck with me. And he was saying that the walls that we meet in life, they're there for us. They're there to keep the other people out that don't really want it as bad. They give us the opportunity to show that we really want it. And it was something that stuck with me when I was beginning in my entrepreneurship thing, that every time I met a challenge or hardship, I was like, you know what? I am the kind of person who can eat this shit up. I can overcome challenges. I know most people can't. Thank God this is here then. Because if it wasn't, how would I get to have the opportunity? Like, if there was just this pot of gold that everybody could access, there'd be no more gold. It wouldn't ever just take it. So I'm like, every time I meet a wall, I try to remind myself that, like, thank God this is here. It's going to keep those other people out. If it wasn't for this wall, I wouldn't have the gold on the other side of it, so to speak. Nice. And for me, that was something that carried me through that initial, let's call it the initial year and a half of that struggle.
Well, we're going already an hour and 40 minutes, and I know you're on vacation. You got to go back to the wife and the kid, and I know Steezy is after a long day, and myself as well. I got to go back to the secret spot. Secret spot represent.
Yes.
So, first of all, thank you very much for blessing us with your presence on the podcast, episode 62. I can't tell you enough how much we have learned today, and how much I'm sure the audience learned and can evolve from those little golden nuggets that you were putting out here today. So thank you for your time, and thank you for coming.
Yes, mahalo.
And I wish we could do that again.
Dude, you were speaking of a book.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where can we get this in case, or if we need more? Like
Yeah.
I for one need more. I obviously had put the question to you about the Loco Moco or not. I chose Loco Moco today, so I need
to work. I need still to work.
I have work to do, and I'm very interested if where we can get more information or more help from Itamar.
Appreciate it. So the kind of idea with the book in general, I'll break it down. So we have the programs. They're pretty high ticket. To work with me one-on-one, that's 6 figures a year. We also have some smaller programs for groups of entrepreneurs. With that said, we wanted to create something that had more scale, that could also just to provide more people and a lower cost. And that's where the book project came about. And to kind of going what you said about hiring the right kind of people, I came to Hawaii now from Austin, Texas. I was there. I was working with the book team there. I think they were the best book writers in the world. They got all our knowledge and all our intellectual property into a book format, and it should be out mid-next year. If though you want to join the waiting list for the book and pre-order it, we're going to give a lot of bonuses to the people that pre-order it. Like to say thank you, they support us. We're going to give them a bunch of free courses, a bunch of tools to use with it so they can actually implement it.
Yes.
You're welcome to go to the website at itamarmarani.com/book, and I can share with you guys the link here. Also give a discount to anybody who comes from your podcast. We'll hook something up. But yeah, the whole goal of the book was just to give away everything. The whole thought process of it, like if I can share the entire system, you can do it entirely by yourself. 90% of the people that read the book and do it, they can do it by themselves, and that's awesome. And my thought process was that there's going to be, let's say less than 10, probably going to be 3% of the people that read it, and it's just the right place in their career or whatever it may be. They'd be like, you know what, this is really good stuff. I just want to pay someone to help me do this faster and with less issues. And that's where they kind of come to our business. And it was this kind of win-win philosophy where we can help a lot of people. And also when we help a lot of people, good things come to us. So it's really, we're going to try to give as much as possible away. And all the bonuses is also just, we really want people to succeed with it. Yeah. Knowing that some people will be like, you know what, I just want help with it because I can afford it. So I just want to do it faster. And that's kind of the philosophy.
So say again your website.
itamarmarani.com/book. itamarmarani.com/book, and we can probably put it in the show notes or whatnot, make it easier for people.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for everybody tuning in. Thank you, Itamar. Thank you, Steezy.
Yes,
thank you for our
guys.
producer, Snizzle. All right. And we're out.
Ahuyo.